guys, Rourke here, welcome back to the bench. Today we're going to be doing a thing, and hope that I don't ruin my mood by modifying my X5 Legion. So one of the downsides about having small child-sized hands is that little features like this little guy right here really get in your way. Luckily, I'm kind of ballsy when it comes to modifying my guns, and the Sig frame is replaceable. Let's get to work. So guys, I absolutely love my X5 Legion here. It's got a relatively narrow grip this way, which lends itself to fit pretty well in my small child-sized hands. The length of pole is perfect to be able to get my trigger finger on the trigger in the correct spot. The only problem is back here. You see this relatively sharp line here? Well, because my hands are smaller, my thumb knuckle is right on that edge. It becomes really uncomfortable under a lot of shooting, and it keeps me from getting as good a grip on this thing as I could. Therefore, let's change that a little bit. What we're going to do today is we're going to take a number of various sandpapers, and we're going to try to sand this ridge to make this ridge just a little smoother transition up into the main frame of the firearm. You can see here that here's my knuckle and here's where that ridge is, and it just sits right on top of there, and it really blocks me from being able to comfortably get a high grip. So we're not doing a whole lot, we're just going to round this off a little bit, try to smooth it out up into the main body to make this a little bit more comfortable. So we're going to be doing that with a number of different sandpapers. I got a whole bunch of sandpaper cut up here, but what we're going to be using primarily is some 500 grit and then some 1000 grit to be able to smooth everything out with. So first off, let's go ahead and take our 500 grit, cut a little bit smaller piece off of here, and let's get to work. Again, we're just going to be breaking this edge right here. I'm going to go ahead and pull apart the firearm so that I don't have the slide getting all yucky. And now let's start going to town. So I'm just going to take my 500 grit here. I'm going to roll it around my finger so that I've got a relatively rounded surface. I don't want any hard, sharp lines on here. And then I'm just going to kind of start scratching away at some of this hard edge. And as I said, I'm not going to do a whole lot. I don't want to take a lot of this edge off. I just need to smooth it out because it's very uncomfortable for me. And I do notice it changing colors a little bit. We'll have to see if we can get that to change back once we're done with a little bit of wet sanding. But there, I can already feel that edge breaking and just getting a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more blended down into the main section. At this point, I'm really getting a what have I done feeling. There we go. That is getting a lot nicer. It is amazing how much that little bit of rounding has actually done. You can see this hard edge over on this side, and on this side we're smoothing that out by quite a bit. I do still need to do a little bit of work, but you can see the difference that it's making. And I'll tell you, I can already feel the difference in my grip. Let's keep going. Oh, guys, that is so much more comfortable. I am honestly almost amazed that Sig left that on there, because it's just been proven so uncomfortable for me that, I mean, look at the lengths that I'm going to get rid of it. I don't quite understand what their purpose was with that. Maybe they're dealing with a lot of shooters with bigger hands. That may very well be, but I'll say just this little bit has made such a difference. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm bringing up this fulcrum point right here, which is where my thumb was actually catching. I'm bringing that up and blending it in so that now I don't have that hard ledge there where my thumb goes. What that's allowing me to do is it's allowing me to get up more comfortably beside the beaver tail to get my thumb up high, which is exactly where I want it. All right. And I actually think that's about as much as I'm going to have to modify on this. From there on this side, it's all about smoothing this back out with the higher grit paper and making it look pretty again. Let's go ahead and move on to this side, because I do want this thing to be symmetrical for offhand shooting. And let's get to work on this one. All right. So that's it as far as the original shaping goes. Now let's go ahead and grab some 1000 grit and try to polish this up just a little bit. All right, guys, so now we've got our 1000 grit. And as we get progressively more fine on this, I may end up having to go up to a 1200 to be able to get the coloration back to normal. But I'm hopefully going to get this coloration pretty well blended. Nah, it doesn't look like I'm going to get it blended at all. That's all right. Who cares? It's a tool, right? Okay, that side is smoothed out. Let's go ahead and swap to the other side. Try to get this all blended in nice and fine with our high grit paper. Okay. Guys, I can't even explain how much better this fits my hand now. Kind of makes me a little bit frustrated that Sig didn't just do it right in the first place, but whatever. No gun is perfect. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and jump to a higher grit and a little bit of wet sanding to see if we can really blend this color in, because I don't know how well you guys can see that, but in the real life here, it's a pretty clear discoloration. All right. So I got a little bit of water now on 1200 grit. Let's see if we can get this polished enough to blend in. That's doing a better job. Granted, it's wet, so we're not going to be able to see the finished result until it dries off, but I'll tell you, it does look like it's doing a lot better job of blending it in with the wet sanding. Oh yeah, that is much better. Keep working it a little bit. If we're lucky, we can make this entire thing look factory again. And nobody will know that I cheated to be able to use this gun with my tiny little boy hands. Switch over to the other side. You guys can see how white this looks. Just watch. Because I'll be honest, this is pretty cool. I figured it would change it a little bit, but didn't figure it'd change it that much. All right. You can still see it a little bit over on this side, so I think I'm going to work on it a little bit more. But guys, I am pretty happy with the way this thing is turning out. You can still see the shelf a little bit, and that's okay. I didn't need it all the way removed. It's a really hard shelf that Sig leaves on here. So just cleaning it up and allowing my hand to get a more comfortable high grip will be a major improvement for me. So let's go ahead and finish our wet sanding. See if we can get this thing looking 100% back stock as far as finish goes. Then we'll get it back out to the range, and I'll give you guys an update later on just how this thing does with its new beaver tail. One thing to make sure when you're doing this, when you're wet sanding, make sure your sandpaper always has some water on it. If you get it dry, you can scuff it back up, which means you got to go right back over it again and wet sand it. All right, guys, grab something to dry this off with, and that's how we're looking. Come on, focus. There we go. And that's how we're looking. So now we took that hard shelf that Sig had in there originally, we've smoothed it out a bunch, and made it so that I can get a nice, high, comfortable grip. Did that on both sides so that I can shoot pretty well offhand too. It does still need a little bit of color matching. I might try to use some polish on it, but honestly, this is no more color change than you're going to get under hard use anyway. And the fit of this is now so much better. Go ahead and stick the slide back on here. Now I can get a nice high grip without that edge cutting into my finger. So that's it for this time, guys. Cleaning up the back of a Sig X5 Legion and that silly little shelf thing they put back there. Hope you guys found this video useful. If you did, go ahead and like and subscribe down below. If you like what we do here on the channel and you want to help out a little bit, go ahead and head on over to our Patreon page. That's patreon.com/workthetrigger. Remember, I appreciate every one of you, and until next time, do your research, get informed, and get to work.